Hello my friends, welcome to this week's Make and Take. This week we are making this cute little, I'm calling it a faux terrarium, because while it does look like a little terrarium, it is sandwiched between two pieces of acetate, but then you can hang it up in the window and it's really sweet and it has this little sentiment that says, "You make me happy." All right, let's get started. Okay, so this little kit is very fun. I love how alive it looks. What you're gonna see in your little bag here is some moss as well as some real and fake plants. So I'm just kind of preparing you for that. So if you were not expecting to get real and fake, now you know. But the moss in here is real. All the other little plants are fake, except if you do have, I believe you guys have baby's breath in there, that is also real. So now you know. But it doesn't need to be watered. We're gonna sandwich it between two pieces of acetate, and then it should retain its green color for at least quite a while. If you do hang this up in the window and it's there for a long time, it might turn brown over time, but those fake things will be fine. All right, so very first thing we're gonna do is we have our little, you see the little terrarium shape here on our acetate. What we're gonna do is we're gonna cut that out. And we're going to see how the paint, I use a white paint pen to draw the terrarium shape. What you're going to do here is you're going to cut on the outside of the white paint pen, so then that way you can see the shape of that paint pen, and it will still be there after our item is cut out. Because the white paint pen is actually going to cover up the hot glue that we're going to be using. So you're going to see that here in just a moment. So I'm using my favorite fine point scissors, but honestly you can use any scissors, it doesn't really matter, as long as you're cutting on the outside of the white, because we don't want to trim that white pen off. Okay? All right, so we have one, and then we're going to cut out a second one. We don't need to save this little piece of plastic. Oh, but I do need my little butterfly that's in there. There we are. All right. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing with the second terrarium shape. Again, you're going to go ahead and you're going to cut on the outside of the white. And it's okay if the terrariums do not match up perfectly with one another. Of course, you could line them up one on top of the other just so that they are perfect, but it's not necessary. It's going to look good no matter what. So just throwing that out there in case you're worried about that. Okay. All right, here we go. So what we're going to do here is once we have both of our terrarium pieces cut out, we are going to start filling them up. Now before we fill them up, we are going to actually be gluing one right on top of the other. So you can kind of line them up until you're satisfied with how those line up with one another. And again, it's not going to be perfect, and that's okay. Now we're going to be using hot glue. So what we're going to do first is we're going to put a line of hot glue right along this white line that's on the bottom of our terrarium here. And I know that's really hard for you guys to see. You see that white line right there? We're going to put hot glue along that white line along the bottom of the terrarium. Okay, so I'm going to show you what we're going to do. Again, I know it's really hard to see because my terrarium is clear, but we're just putting a line of glue with the hot glue gun right along the bottom of the terrarium. You're going to want to work quickly, and you're going to line the other one up right on top of the other one. Okay, you're going to press down. Make sure you do not burn yourself, but you do need to work kind of fast so that those two pieces glue together. And then we're also going to do a line of glue along the left side of the terrarium as well, right along that edge. And I'm only going to go up to the top. I'm not going to do the right side at all. I mean, I am eventually, but not yet. Okay, so again, right on that white line that I drew with the paint pen, right along that edge. And again, you want to work kind of quickly, just sandwich those two together. Again, make sure you don't burn yourself. Okay, so once those are nice and pressed together, you will probably notice that we've created like a little pocket, and that's where you're going to be tucking in all your little terrarium bits. So let's pull out our terrarium bits. So we have this cute little butterfly. I cut that out of handmade paper. It's very fun. So let's see what kind of little bits we have in here. All right. So I have some fun moss. I have this kind of, this is a fake fern. I have some large moss, and then I have this kind of cool fuzzy fern, which I was really satisfied with, as well as this little tiny bit of baby's breath, which is like a little dried plant. All right, So we're gonna do the little butterfly last, and you're gonna need a little bit of white glue for when we go to glue on our little butterfly. So just be aware of that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna build our terrarium from the bottom up. So what's at the very bottom is gonna be moss. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna lay some moss in right now. So I'm just gonna open up the little pocket on the right side here, and I'm gonna use my fingers, and I'm just gonna kind of slide them in and kind of press my little moss in along the bottom. I know it's not gonna be perfect, and that's okay. And I'm going to do this moss right here. And then I have this kind of fun, scraggly looking moss, which I really like actually. I'm going to press that down. And if you have like a little skewer, you can use a little skewer to kind of press some of those things together. Whoops, some of my glue is coming apart down here. Let me re-glue that real fast. I must not have worked quite fast enough earlier. If you work quickly, it will bond. The two pieces of plastic will bond together. All right, and now that I have my little moss in there, I'm gonna use my little fake ferns and slide those in there. So I think I wanna do this guy first, and I'm gonna do this guy second. Super pleased with how that looks. Oh, yay, I love that. And then I'm gonna put the baby's breath in there. So I have my little stems at the bottom. I'm really happy with that. And I'm keeping everything kind of contained. I don't want it to be hanging outside of the terrarium that we're building here. So I'm gonna kind of tuck that down. All right, so I'm gonna think about where I want my little butterfly to be, and I think I want my butterfly to be right there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a tiny, tiny, tiny piece of a tiny little dab of white glue right in the center of my little butterfly on the back. So I'm just gonna grab my white glue here. Again, I'm putting in just a tiny little dot of white glue. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna slide this in here, and I'm gonna set it down where I want it to be, and I'm just gonna kind of press it softly. All right, now it's time to close up our terrarium. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start at the top. I'm going to put a little bit of hot glue again where that white marker, paint marker is at. And I'm actually just going to go partially so I can get that pressed down. Oh goodness, that got a little hot. All right, and now I'm going to do the same thing right here on the side. All right, and now we're gonna press those together. Woohoo! Okay, now this next part I actually forgot to mention in the little kit that you do need a little hole punch. Now, I'm wondering, I might actually have time to go back and hole punch these. So hopefully in your kit already, you have a hole punch. I got a hole punch mine, but I'm gonna go back and make sure all of your kits are also hole punched. I know you guys gotta bear with me, wait for me here, but I'm gonna use a little small 1/8 of an inch hole punch to poke a little hole at the top there. All right. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take my string here and I'm gonna run it through, and I'm gonna tie a little knot, so then that way I can actually hang up my little terrarium in the window, which is very fun. And then I have this little tag that says, "You make me happy." What I'm gonna do is I wanna make like a little flag, like a little chevron. So I'm gonna start from the corner and cut to the center, and then go from the other corner, and then I'm going to cut to the center, and that's going to make this cute little chevron flag. Now I'm going to slide that on right here. Now if you don't want it to hang in front of your terrarium, I really like how that looks, but if you do not, you can tie a little knot up higher, and then that way the little knot will hold that in place. You can also just grab your twine and wrap it and go back through the little hole. And that will, it's not a knot itself, but it actually will allow the little flag to kind of hang in a different spot, and it's not going to move on you. So that's just another idea for you. All right, there we have it, my friends. I hope you had lots of fun learning how to make the tiny little faux terrarium. Isn't it so cute? Oh my gosh, I'm just so pleased with that. Ah, it's adorable. I love the greens, and I love the little butterfly, the little ferns. I like the little message. It's just really sweet. Hope you guys had a lot of fun today, friends. I'll see you guys super soon. Bye-bye.